I thought you had to die to go to hell, but hell is right here.
This is Kwang Central Prison, also called Bangkok Hilton, the place where only the longest sentence servers go. The women's version is no picnic either. There's already too much fuss on international forums about how ruthless Thai prisons are because of the constant overcrowding, disease, lack of clean food and water, immense heat, occasional violence and death, and other challenges. But the worst of them all is this one. So if you're an inmate here, you're here for a long time, usually 20 to 50 years. In this video, we're showing you why there's no chance that you can survive the Bangkok Hilton prison. Let's start with the fact that it's a maximum security prison. It was made by King Rama VII in 1931 for detaining dangerous, long-term, and death row inmates, and currently it is the only establishment in Thailand responsible for the execution of the death penalty by lethal injection. Bangkwang Central Prison holds death penalty inmates in the death row unit, and almost all the prisoners spend much of their time in prison in leg shackles, even when they are behind bars. However, in 2013, the Department of Corrections launched a pilot project to remove the leg shackles from about 560 death row and life sentence inmates to improve its record on prisoner rights. There was a whole ceremony presided over by Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra on May 12, 2013 to unchain the inmates. Coming to its structure, it is approximately 79 acres and divided into two zones. The area inside the prison walls is about 39 acres, and the space outside is nearly 40 acres. The prison has 2 layers of walls and about 21 watchtowers. Each inmate is surrounded by 6-meter-long external walls, and these walls extend 1 meter below ground and are equipped with high-voltage electricity. The second layer of the walls is of the same height and is surrounded by barbed wire fences. At the center of the prison is the standalone guard tower, which gives the guard a complete surrounding view of the prison. Inside the facility are 14 prison units separated by internal prison walls and small gates. Each unit is made up of a 2-story dormitory building in each unit. Looking at the administration, we see 307 officers working at Bangkwang Central Prison, according to the latest report from June 2014. The prison's majority population is convicted prisoners who are serving a minimum of 15 years, and the rest are remanded prisoners whose appeals are pending. Other than that, there are 6,000 inmates as of 2018. Let's not forget that capital punishment in Thailand is still legal. In this prison, all the executions take place at prison unit number 11, also called the execution unit. As a gruesome touch, there's a painted sign stating that the place for freeing from suffering. In the early days, the execution was beheading by the sword, but that changed to the firing squad. By reports, there are 319 inmates who have been executed by the firing squad, 316 men and 3 women offenders. Then, they moved from firing squad to lethal injection, and they've done 6 executions as of 2009. You can expect prisoners to go insane here, which is why there have been previous attempts of escape and riots. In Bangkwang Central Prison's history, there have been 4 notable attempts in 1932, 1961, 1988, and 1998, and also 2 major riots in 1974 and 1985. Both riots took place for the same reason: protesting the royal pardon. In 1974, the prisoners rioted for 7 days against the government's negligence in not submitting to His Majesty the King the recommendation for granting the royal pardon. In the riot of 1985, there were 7 deaths among prisoners and many casualties. According to the Department of Corrections report, the inmates even destroyed parts of the prison and set the workshop building on fire. The most fascinating aspect of the prison lifestyle was its internal class system, also called the chit system. According to this system, prisoners get their food according to their standing in the cantina, where only a bowl of rice and vegetable food was given freely. So, if you want anything other than the usual, you have to buy it. That allowed wealthier prisoners to employ cohorts and servants out of prisoners, who worked for them in exchange for more food. Of course, many foreign forced prisoners experienced this and established their own charity drives just to provide them with enough money for better food. speaking of foreign prisoners, this prison houses many of them. They later shared stories about their challenges like cramped cells, no mattresses or toilet facilities, language barriers, and many other challenges. Let's now dive into some of these stories to get a closer and more personal look inside the Bangkok Hilton. I was shaking and sobbing. I was thinking, I want my mum. The worst was the beatings. Judith Payne was a dental nurse of age 21 who served time in the Bangkok Hilton for a crime she did not commit. The guy she was staying with had purchased drugs from a street vendor, and when the police came knocking down the door, she was arrested as well. That night, Payne spent her time fighting off prisoners in the holding cell who tried to steal her diamond earrings. The police allowed her to email her mother, Valerie. While doing so, she was, quote, shaking and sobbing, end quote. She shared that, quote, all I could think of was how worried she was going to be when she read it. But I still thought I'd get out in an hour or so, end quote. The next day, the two were taken to court, and the whole trial took place in the Thai language, so they didn't understand a thing. Judith was forced to strip in front of 30 other prisoners and was intimately searched and handed a brown prison sarong to wear. When she was sent back to the cell, she shared that, quote, 74 women in a narrow brick and iron-barred room stared at her. The stupefying heat, buzz of flies, and stench from the communal latrine almost made her faint, end quote. She had no briefing about how the routine worked and how to get food or water. She shared that, quote, in the morning, everyone raced to this trough and tried to throw a bit of water over themselves, but everyone was pushing and shoving, and you were lucky to get any, end quote. After 3 weeks of experiencing madness, the families had hired a lawyer, and the pair was released on bail of £5,000 each. Freedom put me in a dilemma. My soul was still locked behind those bars. Finally, we have the story of the 26-year-old political science graduate, Prontip Mankong. She had staged a satirical play about a fictional kingdom with the political theater coup, which the military government believed was insulting Thailand's monarchy, which is a very serious crime. She pled guilty and was sentenced to 2.5 years at Bangkok's Central Women's Correctional Institution. Speaking to the Christian Science Monitor, she revealed that she slept with 70 to 80 women, mostly drug offenders, on the linoleum floor of her cell. Her sleeping space was just over a foot wide, and for bedding she had 3 sackcloths, one for a pillow, one for a blanket, and one to cover the floor. In the daytime, they ate a rushed breakfast of rice, vegetables, and some tough chicken, which she described as animal food. After that, they worked in sewing factories, earning as little as 8 baht a day. They were punished if they didn't meet their production quotas. She secretly journaled this entire experience by stealing and writing on pages of Genesis that she tore from a Bible. She found ways to smuggle them out, and later used the experience as research, which fueled her book about Thai prisons called All They Could Do to Us: Courage in Dark Times from a Fighter, Not a Victim. After her release, she became a freedom fighter for the many women inmates that still rot in Thailand prisons. She shared, quote, freedom put me in a dilemma. I wanted to go back. My soul was still locked behind those bars. The psychiatrist I consulted suggested I search for my family members, my fellow inmates, end quote. Kwang Central Prison is still operating and working to bring down Thailand's biggest drug traffickers. Despite international unrest and local protests, the ruthlessness of the prison continues to affect its prisoners. Granted, they got rid of the shackles, but they've still got a long way to go to cross the line from surviving in this prison to serving in this prison. Thanks for watching.